Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review we are looking at the Kyoto Revoltech Nickelodeon's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Michelangelo figure. And just like Raphael, he's okay. If you're into Revoltechs, then you're probably gonna like him. If you're not, then you're probably gonna hate him. He kind of falls somewhere in the middle objectively, actually probably a little bit south of middle objectively. But anyway, there are some good things about it and quite a few bad things, so we're going to talk about all of them. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just over 5 inches, pretty close to 5 though, which makes him just about 13 centimeters. And of course, that all depends on how you have him posed at the time. His head was kind of up a little bit, but you get the idea. And it's worth noting that this guy is not the same figure as Raphael. You'll see in the photos at the end, they are almost entirely unique sculpts. I think they might share like the upper arm, maybe. But anyway, most of it, maybe the hands too, I'm not sure. I didn't look that close, but it is a unique sculpt. He's much thinner than Raphael, so that's pretty cool. He's a different color green as well, but the articulation is all functionally the same, unfortunately. We'll talk about that as we go. It does seem that his paint job is a little bit cleaner. I'm not sure if that's just production variance or maybe Raphael was made first and they realized it wasn't made well. I don't know, but his is definitely pretty clean looking. You can even see on the face where they painted the mouth and the freckles, it looks pretty good. So I have to say I'm pretty happy about that. The line work is still a little iffy in some places, but for the most part, it's not too bad. Let's go ahead and talk about accessories. We have the smiling face with the movable eyes connected to the bandana. So I didn't know this when I was doing the Raphael figure until I was actually doing the review, that moving the bandana from side to side in the back on that sliding mechanism actually does move the eyes, which is a cool concept, but in practice you can see it's kind of weird looking. He often looks like he has googly eyes unless you have him right in the center. So it's not terrible, and I get why it looks like that, but it's just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird. So if you like that, you have that option. If you don't like it, don't use it. Put them in the center and ignore it, because the bandana is on a ball hinge, so you can move it around independent of that little mechanism. Then of course he does have the interchangeable head of the kind of smirking eyes closed face. You will need to swap out the bandana, but it's still a nicely done head. We have his nunchucks, which do have real chains, so that's pretty cool, and they will fit on the belt or in his hands. And we have the spinning nunchuck accessory, which is kind of cool in that it's translucent plastic with paint on it, but it's not anywhere nearly as well done as the NECA version of the same accessory. So it's kind of disappointing. It does tend to fall apart, but it is there, so at least it's included. And then lastly, we have our display stand, which is a little bit different than Raphael's. It's a street sign this time, still glossy and weird looking, but it is included, so again, that's okay. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation here. We already mentioned the bandana's on a ball hinge, and that's pretty good. I like that a whole bunch. He does have that weird double jointed neck again, but his is seated much differently than Raphael's, and I think it looks a little bit better. He has actually a little bit more neck sculpted on the torso and a little bit more on the neck itself. So it looks a little better, but of course, because it looks better, it has less range. I don't know why they can't find that balance. It's okay. He's not quite as goofy looking as Raphael, so I'll take it. Still kind of hard to get the joints to move. You see it just kind of snaps back in place. Poor production quality is the issue with Revoltechs in a lot of cases. Same shoulder articulation. We have that offset ball hinge, so you raise the arm up at an angle, and you can rotate it around to get it to work, but it wants to fight you. You can kind of see it snapping into position. That's because it's got too much flashing on the peg and or the socket and doesn't want to let it rotate smoothly. Can't even get the bicep swivel to work right now. Just doesn't want to go. So yeah, they're not the worst aesthetic figures from Revoltech, but the articulation is still just as iffy. The elbow, same type of joint. It doesn't really want to rotate again. You can even see it starting to split as I do it because it does not want to go. You do get really good bending range out of it, and there is a little bit of a cavity in there. But again, it's up to you. If you want to sacrifice aesthetics for articulation, Revoltech may be your thing. For me, they sacrifice way too much unnecessarily for the articulation. The wrist is on the same type of joint as the elbow, but it doesn't want to work as well again. Nice range when it does work. Actually, the wrists are pretty good, other than they just don't want to function. And then the articulated fingers, I think, are fantastic. I really like that they did the articulated fingers, and they look pretty good. And the design is such that it allows them to hide the joints pretty well, so I do like that. For the torso, we have a little bit of an ab crunch. It'll snap forward, probably about 30 degrees maybe, so that's cool. Maybe a little more than 30. I don't know. I like it. It's pretty well hidden, other than from the back. From the back, it's pretty iffy, but from the front, you can't even tell, so that's cool. For the hips, we have the same ball hinges again, although this one is definitely mismolded. You can see it's kind of sitting a little bit lower. Doesn't really want to peg in any farther, so that's a bummer. He has a little bit better, actually a lot better range than Raphael, but the angle at which they're pegged in is such that it doesn't want to let you pose the legs conveniently. It's going to take a lot of work to get him to be posed how you want. It's going to be weird. And that's the story with Revoltech, so I'm preaching to the choir. If you like them, you like them. If you don't like them, you know why. And so that is the case with this figure, just like all the other ones. The knee is functional, but has a giant gap in it. And the ankles are actually really good, again, just like Raphael. You can get pretty good range out of them, but as you can see, it doesn't want to go again. It doesn't want to work. If they worked better as they are, even if they just function as they're supposed to, I'd be more on board with Revoltech, but they just don't. They're so poorly put together, and then they have that poor design. It's a double strike, and they're that close to striking out. I don't like them personally at all, and objectively, I'm about 30% for them, 70% against them. So it's going to be up to you guys. If you're into this particular style of turtle or Revoltech, then you're probably going to like it a lot. And if you're just kind of neutral on both, then you're not going to like the figure. So that's my final take on it. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you turn on notifications and come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.